What up, everybody? It's me, Chris, here to give my predictions for UFC 99, the comeback. Coming from Germany, UFC's first time in broadcasting or having an event over in Germany. Anyways, first off on the undercard, real quick, I'm gonna go with Paul Kelly to win over Rolly Delgado. Just think Paul Kelly's a little bit better of a fighter. Paul Taylor over Peter Sabata. I don't know anything about Sabata. Paul Taylor's a really exciting fighter, though. Seems to always be in a fight of the night whenever he fights. I'm thinking maybe he'll get a favorable matchup because UFC likes him. So I'm going to go with Paul Taylor to win that fight by TKO. Next up, Stefan Struve against Denis Stojnik. I believe that's how his name's pronounced. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Both these guys lost their last fights. Couldn't really gain much from their performances, to be honest. Struve's a taller fighter, but he's a very skinny fighter. I think Stojnik's probably stronger. It's really hard to predict this fight, to be honest, but I'm going to go with Stojnik to win this fight by decision. Next up, Dale Hart against Dennis Seaver. Another fight. I haven't seen a whole lot of these guys, although I have seen them, but it's hard to say who has the advantage here. I'll go with Dennis Seaver to win this fight by decision. Terry Edom against Justin Buchholz. Terry Edom, young, up-and-coming fighter, very exciting fighter. I think he's got more upside than Buchholz, who's solid, but I just think Edom's a better fighter, so I'm going to go Terry Edom to win this fight by TKO. Next up, we have Mirko Krokop making his return to the UFC against Mustafa Al-Turk. Krokop coming off a TKO win over Hongman Choi. Before that, he had a no contest Alistair Overeem in a fight he was actually losing. Mustafa Al-Turk got TKO'd by Cheick Kongo in his last fight. He absolutely got destroyed, to be honest. Anyways, it's Krokop, man. He hasn't been back in the UFC since got knocked out by Gabriel Gonzaga. Got that head kick. Just never looked, in his 2 fights in the UFC, just didn't really look that good, to be honest. But, hopefully he's going to make a return to form. It's hard to say. We haven't seen him in his prime form since Pride Days, in all honesty. Turk, as I said, he got just destroyed by Kongo's elbows in his last fight. It's hard to say, how Krokop's going to look in this fight, because we haven't seen him in prime form. We haven't seen him in the octagon in a while either. I don't know if it's just his style doesn't translate well inside the cage or what it is. But I'm hoping that he's going to, we'll get a glimmer of the prime Krokop, and I'm going to go with Mirko Krokop to win this fight by TKO, hopefully by head kick. Fingers crossed. Anyways, on to the televised card. First fight of the night. On the televised card, Dan Hardy against Marcus Davis. Bit of a grudge match here. Dan Hardy's been calling Marcus Davis a fake Irishman and whatnot. Said he wanted to fight him. He's getting the fight. Davis is coming off that decision win over Chris Lytle. Hardy's coming off the KO win over Roy Markema. Beautiful KO with the counter shot. With the counter left punch, I believe it was. Both these guys like to stand and trade for the most part. And unfortunately for Hardy, who I kind of like more than Marcus Davis, to be honest, as a fighter, I think that it favors Marcus Davis' stand-up game. He's a former pro boxer. I think he's got the better technique, and I also think he's got more power. I think Dan Hardy's got more well-rounded stand-up game with the kicks and whatnot, but I just think the matchup favors Marcus Davis, so I'm going with Marcus Davis to win this fight by TKO. Next up, we got Mike Swick against Ben Saunders. Another really exciting matchup in the welterweight division. Saunders coming off the TKO win over Brandon Wolf, where he just gave him Muay Thai knees to death. Mike Swick's coming off a quick TKO win over Jonathan Goulet. Both these guys have similar styles, similar builds. Both have fought at middleweight. So, I think Mike Swick's a little more well-rounded. I think he's a little bit better on the ground. Probably I haven't seen much of Saunders on the ground, to be honest. But Mike Swick's a very well-rounded fighter. Trains with a good camp, a.k.a. Both these guys are former Ultimate Fighter, contestants. I'm going to go with Mike Swick to win this fight just because he's fought the higher level of opposition and he's got a lot more experience inside the octagon. Should be an exciting fight, though. Like I said, hopefully the guys will just look to stand and trade. I'm going to go with Mike Swick to take this fight by decision because although he does have a lot of early TKOs and KOs, sometimes he kind of plays it safe and just, kind of lay back and, let the fight, take a safe victories. So I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but either way, I'm going to go with Mike Swick to win this fight. Next up, we got Spencer Fisher against Cal Uno, also making his return to the UFC after a long absence. Cal Uno, that is. He's coming off a decision loss over Shinya Aoki, but before that, he had a win over Mitsuhiro Ishida, which is a really impressive victory. I'm going to go with Spencer Fisher to win this fight just because I think he's a better standing. I think Uno's better on the ground, but I don't think he has although Spencer doesn't have the best takedown defense, I don't think Uno's necessarily got the wrestling and strength to get Spencer Fisher down consistently and kind of work him over there. where he would have an advantage. So I'm going to go with Spencer Fisher to win this fight by decision on a fight that I think will mostly happen on the feet, where Spencer's got a huge edge in my opinion. Next up, we got Cain Velasquez against Cheick Kongo. Was originally supposed to be Cain Velasquez against Heath Herring. Unfortunately for Herring, he got hurt, so Cheick Kongo is filling his late replacement, and what I think is a better matchup and going to make for a better fight. Cain's coming off the TKO win, as I said earlier, over Dennis Stojnik. Cheick Kongo's coming off the TKO win over Anthony Hardonk. You know, obviously Cheick Kongo is a better standing, in my opinion, and I think Cain Velasquez is a better wrestler. So I think he's got a better ground game. Hard to say with jiu-jitsu. I don't think really these guys are strong in that department. Kongo's losses in the UFC, you know, he has losses to Heath Herring and Carmelo Marrero. Those were guys that kind of put him on his back and controlled him there. And I think that's what Cain Velasquez is going to look to do here. You know, it's a smart game plan for him to do. He's a better wrestler. You know, he's an NCAA, you know, he's got credentials there. Kongo does have a Greco-Roman wrestling background, you know, but I think, you know, he hasn't shown a lot of strong wrestling in the clinch, except for guys that, you know, can't match his strength there, like Krokop and Mustafa Al-Turk. So I think Kongo would be smart. Kongo, you know, has like shown that he does like to trade on the feet a little bit, but, you know, I don't think he wants to do that too much with Kongo here, because that's where Kongo is at his best. So I look for Cain to take this fight to the ground, control Kongo on the ground, look to do some damage there, and I'm going to go with Cain to win this fight by decision. On to the main event, we got Wanderlei Silva against Rich Ace Franklin. Wanderlei's coming off the KO loss to Rampage, third fight of that of their series. He got just knocked out cold. Before that, he had the KO win over Keith Jardine. Franklin's coming off the split decision and lost to Dan Henderson in a close fight. Before that, he had the TKO win over Matt Hamill. Interesting fight. It's at a catchweight of 195 because Wanderlei Silva's looking to move down to middleweight, and Rich Franklin's more. He just recently moved back up to light heavyweight. He's more or less doing a favor to the UFC taking this fight at the catchweight. Style-wise, you know, both these guys like to stand and trade for the most part. Both are competent on the ground. You know, neither are the strongest wrestlers, neither are the strongest jiu-jitsu players. Although Wanderlei does have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I believe. You know, Rich Franklin, we saw him against Anderson Silva, a style that's somewhat similar to Wanderlei Silva's. You know, they used to train back in the day at Shootbox, get decimated in that Muay Thai clinch and whatnot. So I think that's where Wanderlei Silva should look to, you know, take this fight to control it. You know, I think he'd be smart to try to get Rich Franklin in the clinch. Wanderlei Silva's had a lot of success back in the Pride days in the clinch, getting fighters there. Unfortunately, in the UFC, we haven't really seen him employ that. I've never really seen him get anyone in the Muay Thai clinch in the UFC since he's been back. Rich Franklin, you know, like I said, he didn't fare well at all, obviously, against Anderson Silva. That goes without saying. But I believe he actually did a couple weeks of training with Anderson Silva for this fight. Anderson invited him into his camp, which kind of upset Wanderlei, you know. But you know, so hopefully for Rich, he can learn from his mistakes in that style, you know, going against that Muay Thai style. I think Wanderlei's the better fighter. I think he's more well-rounded. I think he's more explosive. I think he's well, I don't know about stronger, to be honest. Rich Franklin is probably about even on strength-wise. It's just, you know, I don't know how Wanderlei Silva, how his chin is. You know, he got knocked out cold by Rampage. He's got knocked out cold in recent years in fights against Krokop and Dan Henderson. He's been in a lot of wars. He's a young guy, only 32 or 33 years old, I believe. But he's got a lot of wear and tear on his body. So this fight, you know, moving down to middleweight, I think is going to be good for him. But he's not there yet. I think he's the better fighter. But, you know, I think Rich is, you know, I don't know. It's hard to say. As long as Wanderlei Silva isn't too damaged from all these fights, I think he should win this fight. I'm gonna go with Wanderlei Silva to win this fight by TKO. Like I said, he'll be smart to try to, you know, look at those Anderson Silva, Rich Franklin fights, follow that game plan, get Rich in the clinch, use his knees there, and try to break him down to the head and the body. Should be an exciting fight though. Should be an exciting card. Not a lot of big names on it, but all the fights on the main card are pretty well matched up. That should make for good fights. So. Probably back on Sunday to get my thoughts after, but until then, y'all, I'm out of here. Bye.